Hi Eddie, just a couple of questions for you. So could we start, for those of everybody who doesn't know anything about you, could you give us some background on your career, please?
Hi, my name's Eddie Obeng. I know it's really strange because I look like a normal person. Here's a snapshot of me as a real person. And if you were to bump into me on a webcam, I look a little bit like this. However, the truth is, I'm actually two people. I'm Eddie Obeng here, and I'm also at the same time a green boxy avatar. And this is how I spend a lot of my life running global programs from around the world for my corporate clients. And I'll show you how I normally look, which is not as a moving head or talking head, but actually as a lovely smiley figure. So that's me. What I do is I help people to learn how to deliver results, new results, change in a complex, fast-changing world. I've been doing this for a while. My client list is made up of lots and lots of large multinational organizations, as well as some sort of iconic organizations like people like IDEO, but the big ones are also people like Glaxo and Rolls-Royce, and the list goes on, Dentsu Aegis, and so on and so forth.
Fantastic, thank you. So you're going to be speaking at a forthcoming Connect event. Could you give us an overview of what people can expect to hear and the topics and aspects of business that you'll be covering?
I'm looking forward to speaking at the forthcoming Connect event. Um, I'm hoping that we get a chance to focus on some of the things which really make innovation work. If you were to ask me, I'd probably tell you that in anticipation, I think the people who are coming along, their hopes are going to be things like how do they actually accelerate innovation in their own organizations or businesses? I'm sure they'll be worried about that. They'll probably be interested in ways to actually do something different and have some fun. It's been a long time since the crash and the energy in many organizations is quite low. They'll probably want practical tools which help them make more money. And more important than tools, they probably want some guidance in applying it. My guess is that their big fear is that they'll come to a session which will be sort of be theoretical blah blah. Anyone who knows me knows that I don't do that. So that's what I'm assuming the people coming would be interested in. But I have my own fears, especially in this day of these days of rapid change. People come along, listen, and don't take any notes, so they can't actually execute when they leave. And also, they don't interact, especially since they're coming from different organizations. So I'm going to do everything I can to get them to share and to learn from each other. And we're going to be connecting between modules so people get to know each other better as well. And my biggest fear, of course, is zombies. Zombies are people who hang around in meetings, their bodies are there, but their minds and everything are inside their smartphone. So I'll do everything to keep it engaging so that people participate and get some value and some tools out of it.
That sounds really exciting, looking forward to it. So you've been billed as a revolutionary. How important is it for business leaders to challenge conventional ways of thinking?
Lots of people ask how important it is for business leaders to challenge conventional ways of working. And I guess if I was to try and explain how big the challenge is, I'll try and scribble it for you because when I sometimes explain this to people, they don't really get it. Have you noticed how the world just happily keeps accelerating and it gets more and more complex? That's something which has happened to us over the past 3-4 decades. If I was to draw it, I'd probably say the world, this is say 20 years along the bottom here, and this is the pace of change, the complexity, the number of market competitors, the pressure from regulation, all those things. The world's doing this. That's not the interesting part. How fast is your organization learning and changing over the same period? And that's when it gets really, really interesting. For most organizations, it's pretty flat. And for a lot of us, what you find is that actually the two lines have crossed over. I call that point where they cross over, I call it midnight because the rules which allow us to function to the left are different from the rules to the right. Why? If you can learn fast and the world is changing, then you can always rely on your experience. So actually, it's not that important. However, if the world's going to change faster than you can learn, all of a sudden you discover most of the time you're playing catch up. And my whole focus and expertise is on helping people move from rushing around doing the wrong things while they try and catch up to actually doing things which will make a big difference.
Amazing, thank you. So you're going to be facilitating a fast forward group as well, along with the Unlocking Potential team. How valuable is peer-to-peer learning?
Yeah, a lot of people ask how valuable peer-to-peer learning is and why I'm proposing that with the Fast Forward team, we should do some serious peer-to-peer delivery as well. I'll try and explain by sort of bringing you back to this whiteboard, and if I choose the right tab. When we started putting this little interview together, quite simply I asked the people who were here, so the people from Unlocking Potential who are videoing it, myself, Josh, who's one of my colleagues, and Leonardo, who's actually in Brazil, to put their names on a world map. We're all in different places, but this video feels as if we might even have been in the same place to film it, because my voice, the video, everything else feels very, very connected. So what we're going to do with peer-to-peer learning is quite simply, we're going to get people to sit round tables together. And when they sit round tables, what they'll discover is that it's very much the same experience as they found when they were in a real room. But by raising their heads and starting to look up, they'll have places to work. And if they raise their heads a little bit, they'll discover that they're sitting actually at tables with other people, and they can work with these other people and speak with them as if they were in the same place. So even across the county, we're going to obliterate all the things about distance. And through the peer-to-peer learning, they'll be able to also learn, share. And so the advice I'd give to businesses about taking time out, which is really crucial, is, do you remember this diagram I just drew here about the pace of change and what it means? You see, traditionally, if you were doing a business case, what you would do with a business case is you'd go, how much are we planning to invest? Okay, how much revenue will we get? And there was a sort of 0 point here. And you tended to make the assumption that if you didn't invest and you left it for 6 months, everything would stay the same. The bad news, because the world is changing all the time, when you don't invest, when you don't make the change, new competitors come in with different things to do. So the downside often will start to shift. It either goes up or it goes down. Okay? At the same time, because you haven't invested, someone else has come up with it and they've stolen all your future margins. In the old world, doing nothing was equivalent to 0, whereas now doing nothing could be anything at all which you imagine. So without taking the time to invest and change your business, it's really difficult to make a difference. And what's happened to a lot of us, and I'll try and use this little diagram to explain it to you in detail, is we start off here where we complain, I've got a huge workload, I don't have time for this, to plan or to be creative. Because we haven't planned, we don't realize how much work we've been committed to. So we keep saying yes more than is realistic. So we go, oh my goodness, I've got even more work, it's horrible. And so, of course, we now have no time to plan. So we come close to deadlines other people think are important, or customers or clients. And because the customers want to reach their goals, guess what? They phone us and they hassle us. So we spend a lot of our time restarting important jobs, jumping from one to another, which of course pushes our workload up, giving us less time to plan or to do things. So now people know we're disorganized and they can interrupt us and get away with it. So people's lives just become this complete mess. Why? Because they've got stretching targets. Well, that's just life. That's how it is. Second reason, they haven't invested, they haven't changed anything, they still do things the way they always have. And as I explained earlier, doing things the way you always have doesn't mean neutral, it might mean negative. And also, because they haven't planned it, a lot of the time they spend, they end up doing things twice or doing the wrong things. So if you don't take the time out to invest, all you're doing usually is making your life a little bit more difficult.
Excellent, thank you. Over the years, you must have witnessed masses of change in the businesses you've worked with. Why does the process of change still excite you even today after seeing so much change in the past?
What's really fascinating about the process of change is that each time you work with a client, it's a different journey, because every single client has their own specific strengths and weaknesses. And so although they might have common problems, the solutions are always very different, and it's exciting.
Excellent.
For example, when we do the workshop together for Fast Forward, one of the things we'll do with them is build them a health check. This is the sort of thing. What you'll find is everybody scores a different amount on the health check, and therefore the solutions they have to put in place are all going to be different, and I will select the right tools to match their specific requirements.
Excellent, thank you. And a final question, I guess, is everybody in business has always got sort of a hero or an inspiration that they sort of aspire to. Do you have any sort of business heroes that you aspire to at all?
Yeah, sometimes people ask me whether I've got any business heroes who I aspire to, and I guess that's quite a difficult question to answer, because I actually don't really have any business heroes. I have lots of heroes and heroines who have nothing to do with business, but who inspire me nonetheless. For example, someone like Kevin Kelly, who did so much to change our thinking about how systems worked. Somebody like Temple Grandin, who's the amazing autistic lady who designs abattoirs in the US. I mean, they're very, very special people, very, very different. And that really makes a huge difference in terms of me realizing that you can break rules.
Excellent, thank you. So yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us. We can't wait to see your talk down in Falmouth in a couple of weeks' time. Do you have a message to the guys you're going to come and see in Falmouth at all?
Yeah, leave your zombie things behind because we're going to have something useful, and we'll have a really useful couple of months. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Eddie.
Bye.